In Conversation with Terry Shepard, award-winning broadcaster, narrator, and author. A deep dive into the writer's craft with the artists and support systems who create the stories we love.
Today's guest has lived a life that seems tailor-made for the page-turning thrillers she's become known for. Traci Hunter Abramson is a former CIA officer whose years in the agency not only gave her a library of story ideas, but also the steady instincts needed to raise teenagers. Since leaving government service, she has gone on to publish more than 45 best-selling novels, earning honors like the Whitney Award for Best Novel of the Year twice, and the 2025 Silver Falchion Judge's top pick in the thriller category. She's also a beloved writing instructor, conference speaker, and for more than 2 decades, a high school swim coach. Her latest novel, Victim Number 8, throws readers into a high-stakes world of espionage, conspiracy, and personal redemption. Military aide Luke Steele and FBI Special Agent Amberlynn Reiner are sent undercover in Istanbul to untangle a series of murders that may be linked to a nuclear plot threatening millions of lives. For Luke, still haunted by the loss of his last mission, the assignment is more than just professional. It's a crucible of grief, trust, and courage. Together, he and Amberlynn must navigate the danger, deception, and the clock that's ticking toward catastrophe. Traci Abramson, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you. Yeah, as you've got to have a ticking clock in every thriller, right? It just has to be there.
45 books. What keeps you going?
I think it's just I'm one of those crazy people that always has a story in my head. And the only way to get them out and just make them stop keeping me up at night is to put them on the page. So it just keeps happening.
How did you end up in the CIA?
I was recruited right out of college. And it was one of those things like 3rd grade, somebody gave me one of those cute little birthday invitations. It was like top secret. And I'm walking around hiding it, pretending like I'm a little spy. So I think the seeds were planted very young. But yeah, I was like, I happen to know the recruiter through my husband, and he's, why aren't you on my list? And I wasn't qualified for what he was looking for, but I ended up being a good fit elsewhere. So it was just great.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
Okay, so that's a long list. Like, I was going to be a horse jockey. I was going to be an Olympic swimmer. I was going to be an author. Real people don't do this as a living. So, of course, what did I do? I went to college and majored in finance and international business because that's what one does. So little did I know that international business element would be a great fit for the agency.
What drew you to writing?
I think I was always a storyteller. And I really think that's what it boils down to. I was a voracious reader growing up. My mom could not keep me in the library long enough because it's the only way they could afford my habits. It is definitely an addictive habit. But I finally got to where I was like, it was like a release from doing all the finance and the business and things like that. I needed that creative outlet. And then ultimately, I don't even know if I would have pursued publication, but I was working with some young teenagers at church, and they were like ready for adult content, but not adult content. They wanted the plot lines that were more common in adult fiction, but they didn't want the on-page, the heavy gore and violence and language and on-page intimacy and such. And I was like, there's got to be something out there. And there really wasn't a lot out there that fit that, that caveat. And that was what I leaned toward anyway. So that's what I started creating.
Amberlynn is such a strong partner to Luke, both professionally and personally. What do you think makes her dynamic with him so compelling?
I think it's a lot of fun that she wasn't sure what she wanted to be when she grew up, when she was starting. And I think the fact that she stumbled into the FBI really does help her because she has some trauma in her past that did help as well. So I think that really does give her more depth of character. She's not just, hey, I'm a pretty face and I'm athletic and I have a badge. She's a little more than that.
That sounds almost a little autobiographical, is it?
I may have stumbled into a few things.
Tell me about your swimming career.
I love to swim. I grew up in Arizona, and so that's what you do is you swim because it's hot. in Phoenix in the summer. And so I just spent all my summers swimming and pretty much as a competitive swimmer my whole life. And then when I moved into where I live now, I live just south of Quantico in Virginia. And I stumbled onto that they were needing a swim coach at the local high school. And I was like, hey, I'm not a teacher, but I'm happy to coach. And I lasted for 26 years before the book tour started encroaching so much that encroaching on my time that I was like, okay, guys, my last kid's graduating. I don't really need the keys to the school anymore because I don't have to worry about everyone's lost homework. And I think I'll hang it up.
Our special guest is Traci Abramson. Her website, TraciAbramson, TraciAbramson.com. She's published by Shadow Mountain, and her latest book is Victim 8. Take us a little deeper into the plot of that story.
So victim number 8, it was just one of those interesting concepts. Like, first of all, I don't know what I'm going to write when I start writing. And so one of the things I had done, I was researching a different book and had gone to Singapore. And on my way home, because as one does, I had to stop in Istanbul. That was where my connection was. And so I said, okay, let me stay for an extra day. So I did a stopover there and just fell in love with the city. So I was just looking at some of the things that might happen there. So I set this potential serial killer that was happening in Istanbul, in the Faith District, and took some of the culture from that area. Because believe it or not, serial killers are not very common in that area. So I found some that I could base off of. And then I have a U.S. journalist who becomes victim number 8. But he had ties to the White House, he had ties to the president. And all of a sudden they realized that maybe he was killed, there might have been a reason behind that killing, that it might not have just been random. So that's really the basic premise. And it is a lot of fun just diving into the emotional traumas that Luke and Amberlynn have been through in the past and them struggling to move forward in that as well.
Athletic coaches have to figure out how to motivate their teams to become winners. Are there parallels to that philosophy in the writer's craft? When you're thinking
yes. I actually have one of my really good friends still calls me Coach Traci when she's like, okay, I'm trying to get words down. I need Coach Traci to come out. And it's really just that it's an exercise. You have to say, I'm going to sit down at this time and this is when I'm going to work and this is when I'm going to get the words down. And ironically, I actually do most of my words on the treadmill or on my exercise bike. That's where I write.
How do you do that when you're on a bike?
So my bike has a desk on it, my exercise bike. And then my treadmill, I just put an old-fashioned word processor up on where you put a book. And I just type along, and I can only go so fast because if I hit over 4 miles an hour, the typos get really bad. But I know what I was talking about. But you think about it, most people, if they're working out, they want to listen to music or an audiobook or something. And I'm just creating instead of absorbing somebody else's content.
What other writers have influenced you?
Oh my gosh, there are so many. I would say probably when I first started writing, I loved it. Most of them don't write anything like what I do. I loved Booker T. Washington's book, Up From Slavery, is one of my all-time favorites. And of course, I'm a big Jane Austen fan as well, and I don't write anything that's anything like Jane Austen. But you know what? I was really read the classics when I was growing up. So I think those are really the ones that I was most impacted by. And then, of course, the writing community, Brad Thor, Mark Cameron, Alex Finley, they have all been wonderful mentors to me and helped me in different stages of my career. So there's just so many. Hey, Philippi Ryan, that's who I want to be when I grow up. She's amazing. Karen Dion is absolutely darling. I absolutely love her. The writing community, people don't realize how it's like the Major League Baseball. Everyone kind of starts getting to know each other, and especially within your genre. And it's just everyone has great respect and wants to see everyone rise together.
You are known for writing fast-paced, page-turning thrillers. What are some of the techniques that you use to keep readers hooked from chapter to chapter? I
think a lot of it's just very instinctive. I really just start with the question, what if? And then you just want to keep going. Like as the story continues, you're finding your characters are starting to develop questions. And then as an author, you're like, gee, I wonder what would happen. And you start looking those different paths. So I don't know. The other thing I tend to lean towards shorter sentences, shorter paragraphs. So what we call white space, more white space on the page. It's easier you feel like you're reading faster. And in truth, that's where when we get to those final proofs, if I'm to find a typo, it's going to be in one of those sections because my proofreaders and my copy editors are reading fast too. They're pretty good. I don't find as many these days, but I go through I have several help me.
Traci Abramson is our special guest. She's published by Shadow Mountain. Victim Number 8 is her latest and greatest, and you can learn about her long canon of success in the writer's craft at traciabramson.com. How do you think your CIA background has influenced your writing?
Oh my gosh, so much. The CIA, when I was working there, really is that family. You can't talk about what you do with other people. So everything is happening. So if you want to complain about somebody or something that's happening at work, you find those work, I don't want to say necessarily boyfriends and girlfriends. It's almost like brothers and sisters is really what it comes down to. The idea that everything you do could impact somebody else's life is very much lends into writing a thriller, because every piece of the story theoretically could impact somebody's life in one way or another. So I would say that's probably the biggest takeaway. And of course, they still clear my manuscripts. I've got one sitting there right now of, please look at it fast because my deadline's coming up for the next one in the Luke Steele series.
That was going to be my next question is, how do you effectively research books to make them feel authentic?
So I am an anti-research person, but by the same token, my life is research. So I do a lot of traveling, and I just don't know what I'm going to use from those trips until I'm there. Like a recent trip I took on my way home from Hong Kong this past spring. I know, this is my life. I'm living the dream, folks. I was keynoting in Hong Kong for a church women's conference, and stopped. I met my husband and my son in Europe, and one of the places we went was Český Krumlov. And I'd been there before, but there was a tidbit that I had never really picked up on that ended up being one of the keys to the story that's in the next Luke Steele novel. And I just had no idea what I was going to find. So every time I go somewhere, it seems like something happens that, again, it's that what if. Authors, you think you're taking time off. You're never taking time off. You're just looking for the next story.
Luke Steele is such a fascinating character, and over the course of your series with him, he has evolved. How did you put him together?
So it was a combination. I don't really set characters based on other people, but in this case, I had a friend who was the Marine Corps military aide to the president. And so it gave me a lot of the behind the scenes looks. And he was really good about just seeing how careful he was about what he said. And here, I'm a former CIA. I know how to keep a secret. But the level of professionalism of those military aides was really top notch. But then also, like at one point, I'd gone in to have lunch with him at the Navy mess, where it's the White House mess, depending on if it's a Marine or Navy, it's a Navy mess because it's run by the Navy. And so went in to have lunch there, and it was like, we ran into the Air Force military aide, we ran into a couple of the military doctors for the president. And just as soon as they realized my background, they're like, oh, we can talk about you and talk to you in a different way. It's code talking. So if I don't understand, there's nothing classified being shared, but they know that I understand the basics. But I remember at one point, one of them said, we just wanted to go use the restroom, and the restroom near the East reception room, which is where we were going to be exiting through, it's like a bathroom in a house. It's just a single bathroom. And they said, oh, just go upstairs to the VP's wing because you guys can both use the bathroom at the same time. I said, okay. And so I start walking up, and my girlfriend, who's the military aide's wife, is like, we're visitors. We are supposed to have an escort. And the guy who was the Air Force military aide, he's, you're with her. And he points at me and is fine. Because they're like, I'm in the system. They're not worried. And I walk around and own the place anyway. And sure enough, I walked in. A couple people said hi to us as we walked by. It was fine. So yeah, it was just having those background, but walking through, when I went through for that particular time, it was between Obama had just left and Trump was in for the first time. And so there was no tours going on. So all of the barricades are down. We could just see anything. So we're just walking through the main level of the residence. And so it's a lot easier to write the White House when you've walked the White House and I've done the West Wing tour. I've been in the Eisenhower building. I've been in the mansion. I've been in some meeting rooms. So it's just great to have so when we talk research, like I said, my life typically is the research because I don't want to have to look something up.
You are considered one of the nicest and most gifted writers writing in your genre today.
That is too kind.
How have you so gracefully handled success?
I think it's very simple. It's, first of all, you know that anything you have today could be gone tomorrow. And knowing that everything that I have is a combination of luck and the support of others. And so trying to move forward in your career saying, all right, how can I be a support to others as others have been to me? It's just a natural progression.
And why do you write?
There's always another story to be told. Again, I want to sleep at night. Sometimes the characters are still going to wake me up at 4 a.m., but there's a chance that if I'm writing a story that they'll at least let me have 6 hours at some point to sleep.
That is a common emotional and mental malady we all share, isn't it? Our characters take over the conversation.
They do. It happens. I really think that's how you can tell how invested an author is in their work, is if the characters are taking over, it's working.
Great dialogue is one of your strong suits. How do you create it?
Oh, thank you. I think it's just you listen to what's going on around you. And then there's also the little advice of saying, enter a scene early or enter a scene late and leave early. Like you want to enter in the action and leave while the action's just barely ending. And I think dialogue, that's the case because you don't want to see all the highs and hellos from everybody and you don't need to see all the goodbyes. You just want to see the meat of the conversation. And I think that makes the dialogue much stronger.
When you're so good at using dialogue for exposition, you can bring us up to speed super fast with just a single conversation.
Maybe part of that's lazy, but I do know, like I started using, have you ever heard, I don't know if you've heard of autocrit.
Sure, yeah.
So I use autocrit sometimes just to do a baseline. And one of the things I find is that my dialogue percentage is way higher than a normal suspense. And I was telling my editor about it. And I said, when I first started using autocrit, and I said, I'm not worrying about trying to match other people. I'm just looking, am I consistent with what my normal is? Because it's not uncommon for me to have 50% where other people be like 35. And that's fine. That's my normal.
For those who don't know, autocrit is a fantastic tool. It's not an AI tool. It's an analytical tool that uses basic grammar rules and things like that to help you sharpen up your work. And a lot of us will drop it in there.
Yeah, and it's just a great comparison tool to see, like, where do you fall in comparison to other best-selling authors?
What do you hope readers will take away from their encounter with victim number 8?
One of the things we do touch on a little bit, and I say we because it's that collective we with the whole publisher and editor and everybody, but this one it does touch on some of the mental health of PTSD and some of it, how to overcome grief. And so while it's not I wouldn't consider it a heavy book, I do think recognizing that all of us have things that we're all going to have bumps in the road and we're all going to have our own ways of getting through it. And knowing that having good friendships and good relationships. And then sometimes if you need it, you find a professional to help move through it.
The book is Victim Number 8. It is written by our special guest, Traci Abramson. And you can find out more about her at traciabramson.com. Traci, this has been great. Thanks for the conversation.
Thank you.
In Conversation with Terry Shepard is a copyrighted presentation. All rights reserved. I'm Lisa Davis. Join Terry Shepard next time in Conversation.